Welcome to the I Hate Critics movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zarrell. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick and Jeff Lasseter. Visit us at ihatecritics.net. Everyone's a critic podcast.com, ihatecritics.com. We're on Facebook. Our handle is I Hate Critics. Is it podcast or just I Hate Critics?
I think it's just I Hate Critics.
It's just I Hate Critics. It's Critics Pod everywhere else.
Yeah.
You can listen to us and Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all your podcatchers. I said Stitcher again. I haven't said that in a while. I don't think Stitcher exists anymore.
No, it doesn't.
Anyway, I just got the cadence and I just go with it. Anyway, give us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the air. We have a YouTube channel. I don't know if I've changed the name of that one yet. But if you do listen to us there, make sure to subscribe and notify yourselves when a new episode comes out. Patreon.com/criticspod is the best way to support the podcast. We have several bonus episodes. Most recently, Friday the 13th, Part 2 commentary track that Jeff and Sean did. You can only hear it there because even when we release it live, it'll get a copyright strike and you won't be able to hear it anyway. So it's behind the paywall. But it is entertaining. Sean, where can people get your reviews?
It's at Podcast Sean on Twitter and, of course, on geeks.media, horror.media, and thanks to Dick's the Musical, filthy.media.
And Jeff.
Hey, that's my drag name.
Jeff, where can people find you?
My website is jefflasseter.com. I have an Etsy shop. I have TeePublic. I just restarted my Patreon myself. Nobody is subscribed. Nobody likes me, which is understandable. That's jefflasseter.com has all my links.
You are our only subscriber, if that makes you feel better. I don't know if and maybe Corey, I don't know if he still remembers that he's the subscriber. Any news you want to go over, Sean?
It's weird. The release date thing is kind of weird lately, where we're getting these things where like movies are getting released without studios telling us. And I realize some of that has to do with the fact that they don't have any movie stars to promote their movies. But like over the weekend, Freelance with John Cena and Alison Brie got released in theaters. It's a $40 million action movie, and they didn't bother to tell anybody they were putting it out in theaters. And I gotta know, what is the strategy with that? I mean, there's a movie coming out this Friday that is a David Duchovny, Meg Ryan romantic comedy. Meg Ryan back in the romantic comedy genre after however many years, and they've barely told anybody that they're doing this. I don't understand why the studios are choosing to do this. You can still promote movies. You can still buy commercials. You still can do that. That's not against the SAG rules. So I don't understand why you're putting out movies and not promoting them.
Yeah, I don't know. Especially with the John Cena, Alison Brie, those are two relevant, popular actors. It also sounds like a Netflix movie. I haven't seen it. We can talk about that later.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know when it comes to advertising, everybody's trying to be more unique and trying to find their exact demographic and trying different strategies, but there appears to be no strategy behind either one of those two movies.
It's weird these days in terms of advertising and advertising strategy. We, one of our fans, Ian, on our Facebook page mentioned that he'd not seen any ads for the Marvels, and I'm like, how is that movie? Not on him. I'm talking about Disney. Like, how have you managed to miss somebody who clearly, pays a lot of attention to movies, and somehow he's not aware of your movie coming out? You're not doing a very good job with your targeted advertising.
I will say, though, that I had no idea there was a Five Nights at Freddy's movie coming out. My son knew, though. And so they did a good job of hitting that demographic. Like, I never saw anything on it. I had to search it myself. Now, granted, I haven't been to the theater in 5 months, as Sean and I were talking about before the episode. I had 5 free movie tickets to Davenport. But, I mean, that's a situation where they figured out how to, market in a certain way without doing it the old-fashioned way. So I don't know. I'm sure it'll be a lot like this for the next couple of years till somebody figures it out.
See, I see the trailers all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't watch TV. I, rarely get advertised to except in video games on my phone or tablet. And those are all political. So I don't know. I can't speak to it. I mean, I've seen the trailer for the Marvels probably 17 or 18 times over the last 6 months. And I saw the trailer for Five Nights of, I keep wanting to call it Fab Five Freddy.
That's our age.
But I've seen the trailer for that a handful of times whenever I've seen a horror movie in the cinemas.
And I think that's part of my problem is I haven't been in the cinemas. Because I'm not seeing it on my own.
Last night we were at dinner at the hotel for my job, and Five Nights at Freddy's was all over. It was just like on the displays. It would come up every 5 or 6 ads, but it wasn't the commercial for it. It was just the poster, that said in theaters and on Paramount Plus. So
Peacock. Sorry, I went and saw it in the theater on accident because I didn't know it was going to be streaming.
Idiot. I mean, that's cool.
Day and date streaming, and it still made $80 million over the weekend.
Well, let's start with there then. You want to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's?
Sure. I mean, let's talk about this product, this very popular product that it is, because it's not a movie. It's kind of amazing, and I don't know what the takeaway is. I mean, that you can open a movie this well while it's also available for streaming. I mean, it costs less to subscribe to Peacock than it does to pay for a movie ticket. And people still paid for a movie ticket. And they went and they laughed and they cheered. And, there were memes made and people complained that this crowd was worse than and not to say that I'm not saying they're worse. I'm saying that people were complaining about this crowd more than they complained about the Taylor Swift crowd for all the noise that was being made. People were saying that the Five Nights at Freddy crowd were just obnoxious with their clapping and hooting and hollering and talking at a normal volume, above a normal volume while the movie was on. It's weird. I guess this is just one of those phenomenons, this Five Nights at Freddy's thing. So I'm not sure if it really is instructive in any way about the movie business or about movie releases in general. I don't know what to take. I don't know what to make of it. Should I bother describing the plot? There's a guy. He works at Five Nights at Freddy's as a security guard. The Five Nights at Freddy characters are kids who are possessing these animatronic mascots for this restaurant. It's kill people. Open. It's not open, yeah.
But it's got all the lights. Everything's ready to go. They might as well be open, but it's not open.
It's not open because a bunch of kids went missing at Five Nights at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, and so, but they don't want anybody to have the technology, I guess, of their animatronics, so they keep a security guard on hand. Supposedly, that's the justification, I guess. But they also need security guards there to be killed by Freddy and his group. I'm assuming. I'm just guessing because this plot is pretty much nonsense. The Josh Hutcherson is the main character, and he has this thing where he tries to dream to find out, who kidnapped his little brother when he was a kid. So he tries to have these like dreams where he can see who the person is that did it. And it's the same person who killed like 5 kids at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria years earlier. Now they possess the animatronic. This is really dumb, guys. I don't know what else to say.
Well, yeah, and from what I understand, I've never played the game. I didn't even really know it was even a game. I just seen the animals that or the animatronic stuffed animal, whatever you want to call them, at, I don't know, Spencer's or various stores like that, or online. But according to my son, who I don't know if he's ever actually played it, but all the game is you just got to survive 5 nights as a security guard. in this. That's just, there's really nothing. There's no backstory to the game, as far as I know. It's just surviving, and
it's apparently very popular among people who write fan fiction about it.
I think so, yeah. And I don't. I mean, I don't have a problem with this movie existing, because when Masters of the Universe came out, I went ape shit. I was excited they finally made a movie for me. It's just that everything is IP now, or just about everything, and that's the more frustrating part. I think I would care less about that 20 years ago. But now, and I guess it doesn't bother me so much on this one. This one probably should be able to exist for that age group. I mean, you have no business watching it, Sean. There's no reason a critic should ever have to see this movie. But I get that. Now, if they make 7 of them, okay, now it's ridiculous. But
well, they're definitely going to make another one.
Oh, for sure.
There's no doubt after the box office and the ending. There's just no doubt that there's going to be at least a couple more.
Right.
Jeff, see this?
I did. I was interested like the first half because I've never played the game. My nephew was really into it a few years ago, and I said, "What do you want for Christmas?" He goes, "I want a drawing of Freddy." So I did one, and then they put it in a drawer because his little sister was afraid of it. I guess that says something about my art. But I was kind of into the first half. I have a job that like is very stressful and it's very, very long hours. So I was kind of paying attention, but the other half of me was just trying to catch up on emails and stuff like that. And so about halfway through, I kind of went, oh, okay, I look at it every once in a while, and I almost missed the end of it because I was just kind of tuned out. Now, other movies I watched that I've seen before this weekend, I was, pretty invested in, like Halloween 3. So I guess that just says that I guess it's not for me, even though I do love a good horror movie at Halloween. And I think that's probably that to me explains the box office.
Right. People
want to go to a horror movie around Halloween. I would, I watched Killers of the Flower Moon, and I'll tell you what, I would have much rather watched a 90-minute scary movie in the theater on Halloween weekend. Not that I didn't like Killers of the Flower Moon. We'll talk about that, but that was the mood I was in this weekend, and I probably would have jumped at the chance to go see a new Friday the 13th or something like that.
I mean, I enjoyed Sean mentioned the crowd. I actually enjoyed the crowd because they were into it, and all the hooting and hollering, and my son doing the same thing. I actually thought that was kind of neat, but the movie itself, I couldn't even really. There's logic problems with it from almost Jump Street, so it's not even worth. And you're an idiot for even saying there's logic problems. So. I just kind of sat back and let it happen. But he's watched it like 2 or 3 times, and now since we've seen it, so it's definitely going to be for his age group, and 5 years older and 5 years younger probably.
Yeah, my niece, who I've gotten into horror recently, she said, "Oh, I want to see that movie," and I said it's streaming. She goes, "Yeah, I want to see it in the theater."
I like hearing that at the very least, but
but I don't want it in the theater.
The problem with that, though, is that this is not a movie that is asking anything of anyone. This is not a movie that you're going to walk away from going, "Man, I can't wait to go back to the movie theater." There's nothing special or interesting about this other than the experience you have with your friends watching it. Maybe. I guess that could be enough to maybe bring you back to the movie theater, but most movies are not this kind of experience. You're asked to please not do this kind of reacting when you're at an actual movie. If you want to attend this product like this and treat it like a football game, this particular movie is kind of the thing for that, or even the Eras Tour, not to mock the Eras Tour, but like it invites you to that type of reaction, which is fine. But if you go to another movie and you act like this, please don't.
Yeah, to the 2 ladies at Killers of the Flower Moon, go fuck yourselves.
You had talkers and Killers of the Flower Moon?
Oh my God, they were probably 80 years old, and they were just they were just blah, 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 and I kept shushing them, and I hate to be a Karen, but oh my God, shut up, lady.
I went to the 10 o'clock showing on Sunday morning or whatever, somewhere in that vicinity, and you get that senior crowd, and that's what they do. They sit and they talk
I was there.
Oh, really?
I was there. Yeah. The two ladies that were in like row B that came in an hour into the movie and then were, what's going on? I can't tell, Hazel. Tell me what's happening.
Well, in fairness, I went a couple of days. I saw it twice in the theaters, but I was going to fall asleep, so I had to leave. And since I had the free 5 movies, I decided, you know what? I need to get back. I got to go to work. There's still an hour and a half left, and it's 11 o'clock at night, and I have a 40-minute drive home. I'll just come back Sunday morning. Movies in the morning are not, especially when that attract a senior crowd. We'll get to that later, but it was packed. I was shocked at how packed it was.
Yeah, it was really busy.
Let's move on to Dix the musical.
Yes, Dix the musical is a very R-rated movie. But not in the way you think it's going to be, which I appreciate. This is not necessarily a movie filled with dicks.
Damn it.
The dicks of the title are the writers and lead actors, Aaron Jackson and Josh Sharp, who introduced themselves as gay men who will be playing alpha males in this movie. who just, they love dicking down the ladies. That's what they love to do more than anything.
Yep. Totally relate.
They are alpha males. They're the top salesmen at their Vroomba factory that they work for, but they work for 2 different branches, so they'd never seen each other, and that's interesting because they're supposed to be twins. Just go with it. They're not twins, but they don't look like anything alike, but they're twins. That's what the story is. They meet each other finally and realize that they're twins, and they decide that they're going to pull a whole parent trap thing to try and get their parents back together. Their parents are played by Megan Mullally and Nathan Lane, both of whom are just completely insane. Megan Mullally claims her character is 96 years old and that her vagina fell off. And the vagina comes back multiple times and makes an appearance.
Oh my God.
And it's very funny each time. Nathan Lane is going to cause a problem for their plan to get them back together because he's decided to come out as gay at his advanced age. He's now deciding to come out. And he's made his commitment in life to his sewer boys. He's got a pair of sewer boys that live in his apartment. Sewer boys are just these tiny little demon-looking puppets that he feeds from his own mouth. It's bizarre.
Do they have do they exist outside this movie? Because they were listed in the credits, like in the trailer that I saw.
I think that's just part of the marketing of the movie. I don't think they exist anywhere else. Megan Thee Stallion is their boss at the Vroomba factory, who's forced to fire them after they take 2 weeks off just to do a parent trap. She gets a very funny song. Everybody gets a really funny song in this. The movie is hilarious. It is so wrong. It is so wrong all the way through, beginning to end. It's just, I mean, at one point, Megan Mullally throws her vagina at someone and so it can attack it and take them down.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's the kind of movie we're talking about here. The twin brothers fall in love eventually, so there's that.
Jesus.
It's insane, and I've not spoiled anything, so there you go. Yeah,
Lord.
It is. You know how everybody says that stupid shit about, oh, you can't make politically incorrect or offensive movies anymore.
Totally can.
This movie has a song called "Faggot" in it, so there you go.
Oh my God, a song about me!
That's the title of the song. Like, there's just this movie is offensive, but it's offensive in a way that because it's not punching down. It's not like attacking people who are, vulnerable people, it's making the subjects of the movie the joke. The dicks, the titular dicks, are they're the ones being made fun of. They're the assholes who are the subject of the joke, and that's how you do this kind of joke. It's very simple, really.
Yeah.
And it came out at the same time Old Dads came out.
Oh wow! I did not. Well, I was not going to sit through that, and I did sit through that. I'm sorry.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
full disclosure, while Sean was talking about this movie, I wanted to see if it was still going to be in theaters this weekend, and it's not, which disappoints me greatly. But Five Nights at Freddy's, starting on Friday, has 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 17 showtimes on Friday.
Mm.
So do with that information what you will, but Killers of the Flower Moon has 3.
Well, yeah, but
Now, granted, I know it's 3.5 hours long.
Say, that's a
but
full day's worth of showings.
I'm sad. I'm sad about Dicks going away. That movie deserved. But they gave it one screening in our area, and it was at 9:55 at night. The late show that was to be for Freelance, they gave to Dicks, and that's it. That's the only screening it got. It's 9:55 at night.
After the night I had on Saturday, I really wish I had just gone to Dick's.
You would have been very happy. You would have really loved it, Jeff.
You know, me going into a theater for Dick's, not the first time that's happened.
Yeah, this is right up your alley. I think you would have absolutely loved this, and you still got one opportunity tomorrow night.
I have to be at work at 5:00 in the morning. Their 9:55 showing is not going to happen.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, although that's going to change soon because I will definitely be finding other employment.
It is an A24 film.
Yeah,
and I'm sure we'll be able to see it streaming somewhere fairly soon.
A24 continues to be the best.
Did you guys read that news about A24 looking for IP?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I imagine they'll do it and then just do it really, really well.
Yeah, everybody was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe A24." I'm like, dude, if A24 is picking something up and it's IP, it'll be good IP. So just sit down and shut up.
Just don't pick up a Marvel type thing where it's 400 movies and it consumes your whole platform. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
I don't care because then you can't. I don't know. Nobody can make that work the whole time.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Marvel can. They've never made a mistake.
Marvel's the reason why we get Five Nights at Freddy's. No, none of us wanted to shit on Age of Ultron and all those Thor movies that were bad other than Ragnarok. And here we are, more IPs. Anyway, Freelance.
You don't want to mention Old Dads?
Oh, if you like Bill Burr, it's a stand-up comedy routine, and that's it.
That's it?
It's fine. I mean, it tricks you. It will bring, just like Bill Burr does, he'll get that crowd that thinks they're anti-woke, and then, his whole thing is he pretends to be anti-woke and then ends up being, well, I'm kind of an idiot. That's his whole shtick. It's always been the way he does it, and the movie's the same thing. It's entertaining enough, but it's not, it's not that Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell movie that you hated so much.
Okay.
At the same time, you got to be. If you like Bill Burr, you'll like it. If you don't, it's over the top. It makes fun of woke culture, but it also makes fun of the people that make fun of woke culture. So it's kind of the perfect throwaway Netflix movie.
Fair enough.
But yeah, let's go to Freelance because I'm not good at this stuff.
Freelance is a weird release, a $40 million action movie that they told no one about, starring John Cena and Alison Brie. The story goes that Cena is a soldier who's also he went to law school and he got his law degree, but then he decided he wanted to be a soldier, so he became a soldier and got into special forces, and then his unit got shot down in some South American country, and he got injured, and he had to go back to being a lawyer, and he's miserable being a lawyer and a dad and a husband, and So after a time, he decides, you know what, Christian Slater, my friend who's also in the military and now runs a Blackwater style company, give me a job. Christian Slater gives him a job as a security guard, traveling down to the same South American country where he nearly died. Accompanying a journalist played by Alison Brie, who's going to interview the dictator of that country, who seen his character believes is the one who shot him down all those years ago. He's being set up naturally to try and kill this dictator, but the dictator, surprise, surprise, isn't actually the bad guy because Martin Kasakis is in this movie. So, of course, Martin Kasakis is the bad guy. He's always the bad guy. He's a South African mercenary who's been hired by a different country to overthrow this South American country for its resources or whatnot. It doesn't matter. This movie's just incredibly basic and not very good. It's also just incredibly sloppy. Pierre Morel directed this. He's not a very good director. He's really there's so much like there are spatial issues with this movie where you're trying to figure out where characters are in relation to the action taking place. And I don't know if it's the direction or the editing. One of them is really, really bad because you can't tell where anybody is in many of these action scenes. And that really becomes distracting throughout. Not a lot of people will notice that. Like a lot of people who are just passively watching a movie may not notice that, but you're going to be irritated by it and not even realize you're being irritated by it. And that's one of the things about bad movies that people really don't realize is that they're very slickly made to the point where you know it's not good, but you don't know why it's not good. And that's why this is not good. It's because it doesn't have any good spatial reasoning.
It sounds like you watched it on full screen and not widescreen.
Say what?
Like, remember back in the day when you'd watch your VHS tapes on full screen and then you get the widescreen version with the black bars at the top? It sounds like in the theater it was cut for full screen.
Maybe, who knows? They wouldn't care if it was. They don't care.
And the audience that would enjoy something like that is definitely the audience for a movie like this. I'm going to pause and take the batteries out, and then we can go to Killers if that works for you guys.
Yeah,
sure.
I would probably take Freelance just slightly over 5 nights.
Yikes.
All right. So what would you take over Sean, Freelance, or 5 nights? I'm just kidding. Killers of the Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon is the latest movie from director Martin Scorsese and stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, and a young woman who's kind of making a splash right now in terms of whose name, of course, is going to escape me.
Lily Gladstone.
Lily Gladstone, in a story that's based off of a very true story about what happened to the Osage people in Oklahoma in the early 1900s. Leonardo DiCaprio is returning to is going to live with his uncle Robert De Niro, who's going to give him work and help him get back on his feet following World War I. He's returning to an Oklahoma that is quite changed because they've hit oil there, and then the Native Americans, the Osage people who are living there, are now quite rich and are being taken advantage of, slowly fleeced by Robert De Niro's character, who is setting them up to essentially just steal their land, steal their oil as much as he possibly can. And one of his schemes is to have people that he trusts marry into these Osage families and get control of their oil rights. And it's an insidious plan that also involves just killing a lot of people, but strategically so. Whereas happening in the background of this movie, you've got Black Wall Street in Oklahoma that is just burned to the ground. That is an immediate, genocide that they do just to get rid of those people and their wealth. Here, it's much more. It's a genocide, but it's a different kind of genocide. It's a slower acting genocide, but you're watching it happen, and it's this inextricable thing. You're watching it, and you wish you can see it, and they can kind of see what's happening, and yet you can't. It's unpreventable the way it's playing out. This is a powerful film. It's got so many great performances. Robert De Niro hasn't been this good in years. He is so incredible in this movie. He's so ingratiating, but it's obvious to us that he's being disingenuous, but it wouldn't be obvious to anybody who didn't know, what we know. We're seeing him be disingenuous. We're seeing him lay out this plan and then glad hand his way through, being around all of these Osage characters and, befriending them and being kind to them. And it is so hard to watch at times because it is so you want to scream and try and warn them and you can't. It's so powerful and the direction is so skilled. This is Scorsese being so incredibly patient and thoughtful. Everything has a point and a purpose, and it just plays out so in a way that there was no other way for it to play out. The whole series of scenes between Leonardo DiCaprio and Lily Gladstone as she becomes ill, how that plays out is shocking and terrifying. And DiCaprio is playing such a varied character at once that he's a dupe. He's also kind of a criminal. He's also kind of a willing participant as a criminal, but he's also not. He also seems to really love his wife, and that dichotomy is really strong, and it really drives so much of this movie in a way that he does love his wife, but he's also trying to cover up a number of crimes that he himself has committed.
Yeah,
Jeff, do you want to go?
Yeah, what you said about De Niro is absolutely right. I'm kind of lukewarm on Leonardo DiCaprio, just in general. Like, he's never my favorite actor in anything.
Mm-hmm.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it was Margot Robbie for me. She just leapt off the screen. The Revenant, it was the bear. I'm just kidding. I mean, Lily Gladstone was the absolute best character, best actor in this movie. If she's not nominated, I'll throw a fit like I did about Pearl. Robert De Niro, what you said is absolutely right. He benefits from a director with a vision and a hand, not somebody who's going to make, Johnny Knoxville movies with him or whatever.
Right.
This movie was so frustrating for me because I wanted to yell at the screen. I wanted to be like those two old ladies in the front, but at the screen, and you just see, what's happening. You see it. You see that Leonardo DiCaprio he knows what's going on, but he doesn't want to know. And he just loves his uncle so much that he just goes along with whatever. And when they are slipping the drug into the insulin and he goes, it's just going to slow her down, right? Yeah. And he knows. And it makes me so angry that we as a people did this, but that, he almost got away with it. And in a way he did. Because he was pardoned, and it was so frustrating watching Lily Gladstone. She had the look on her face like she knew everything that was going on. She knew what was going to happen. She knew as soon as her first sister was killed. She just knew shit, and she had that look on her face from the jump that I know that these people are trying to take everything from me, but I'm powerless to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And that serene but sad look that she had in the first half of the movie that she was in, you're like, your heart breaks for her because you know what's happening. That she's going to lose everything and everyone. And if she had died, I had not read the book. I knew nothing about this before I watched the movie, but I was convinced that she was going to die. And had she died, I would have probably thrown my popcorn at the screen or something. Yeah. I don't mind a long movie as long as it's not a slow movie. You know, if it's packing stuff in. There were a few times in this when I'm very, very tired because of my job. That I was kind of nodding off a little bit, and I had to at one point get up and go to the restroom just to make sure that I was, aware of what was going on. Um, I I I appreciate what Scorsese was doing with it and how he was honoring the Osage people through everything. I did, as I was going through it, I did kind of identify a couple scenes that weren't really necessary to move the plot, but I don't know about, losing them necessarily. And I'm always the one on the show that says, I wish this was a series. And it very well could have been, an Apple series. I was kind of surprised they didn't pick this up as like a 6-part miniseries or something. That was my only thing. The only thing I didn't like about it was the length and the slowness of everything, because of the fact that but that being said, I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate him taking the time to tell these people's stories. And believe it or not, they did cut down the amount of characters from the book. So, but yeah, Lily Gladstone was the tops for me.
I didn't notice the length at all. I was so invested in this from the very beginning. It got inside of me and got under my skin. And that opening scene where they're burying the peace pipe and they're also finding the oil, like there's a, like with Scorsese, and we're going to talk about this a little more. He offers you a keystone in every movie, a scene early on that will unlock what you should look for the rest of the movie. In Age of Innocence, it's about flowers. And a movie we're going to talk about later, there's a book that is an important part of the rest of the movie. Even if you don't know about the book, you can read a little bit about something and realize, oh, the book was the key. Here it's that peace pipe and that shift from the past to the present to the future is the key here that you should be watching for, the end of peace and the coming of war and all of it. Right there in that opening scene, he's just so great at that. He's so amazing at that, and it just, from beginning to end, this movie just had me from that. And it's just such a gorgeous movie too. On top of being deeply emotional, the movie looks amazing. Every scene, every inch of it. The score is incredible as well. And that courtroom scene at the end. I mean, that could be the downfall of any movie is a cliched court scene, but there's nothing cliche about that. The twists and turns of that. DiCaprio, making the decisions that he makes, but that devastating moment when he's forced to be who he really is and admit what really happened, and what the look on Lily Gladstone's face is among the most devastating things I've seen in a movie ever.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, have you guys read the criticisms of Brendan Fraser?
I haven't. I don't know why anybody would have a problem with him.
Yeah, there was some. Of course, it was something on Twitter that somebody was like, "Oh, he overacted. And he was a ham, and he did this, and they should take away his Oscar." And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? He did exactly what he was supposed to do."
Yeah,
that character is supposed to grandstand.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's the whole point of that character, is that he knows he has nothing on his side. He knows that it's wrong. He's a shill. He's a shyster. He's as much of a criminal as De Niro is. So of course he's going to be that way. You want to take away his Oscar? I'm okay with that, because The Whale sucks. But that's got to be your reason, not this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I more or less agree with you guys on everything. I agree with Jeff that I think Lily Gladstone was really the star of the movie, and I think that was the intent too. I mean, you need and I, say that Leonardo DiCaprio is never your favorite in the movie. I think that's also a strength of his. I think it's good that he's not selfish enough to hog the screen and allows for someone else to shine, and he played his role the way he needed to. I do believe they were both in love, even though the other stuff was going on. That's what clouded her judgment. Because Jeff's right, she knew everything, but because she was in love, I feel like that's what prolonged her from acting. And when she finally did act, stuff started to, go down.
I was going to say, when you said that I got the impression from her performance that she was someone who saw all her sisters and her, everybody in love and happy, and that's what she wanted. And so she overlooked some of the stuff that she knew was going on.
But she made him wait. She didn't fall for his stuff early on. And then I do think eventually they started getting there. And even he, it's like he knew, but he didn't know. Like, he didn't want to know when he was, poisoning her, like you said. Because, when he's in the courtroom, it really feels like he thinks he's cleaned the slate. He's admitted everything. And then when she calls him out on that, it almost looks like, oh my God, there's another lie just to my wife that I was doing that, yeah, I don't know. The whole thing, I noticed the length, but I liked every second of it, if that makes sense. I could watch this in half an hour increments, an hour increments, or 3.5, whatever it had to be.
On Quibi.
Yeah, I don't need it shorter, but I could definitely, like, you could do this in 7.5 hour episodes, or
yeah,
or watching it all the way through. Either way, I'm fine with it. Sean mentioned the score, that baseline thing that changed a little bit every time. I thought was really phenomenal, really neat. The whole thing is just well done, and it's just. He walks that fine line, Scorsese, and like with Wolf of Wall Street, I hated that movie because I could not. I hated those guys so much, and like you said, if Lily Gladstone had died, this could have turned on for me and been a movie I actually hated because of how effective it was. But instead, the way it played out, because I hadn't read the book either, I obviously knew a little bit about the story, but not nearly enough. That it was able to enjoy it and figuring out what was going to happen. And but how evil Robert De Niro's character is, because he's getting to know these people. He's joining their lives. And had he been the main character, this would have been a tough one too, especially if he'd gotten away with it completely. Which I guess is really not much different than the dude from Wolf of Wall Street, because he gets out too. But he's the supporting character. But oh my God, I don't want to say it's worse than the whole Black Wall Street thing, but that is, you're just making a big explosion, or one, you're not having to get to know these people. And there's just a level of evil there that sociopathic that I just, it really creeps me out.
The insidiousness of it.
Yes. It's like, I don't know. Usually it's like you can sit down and talk to someone who you have differing opinions with, and eventually you can have a conversation and get to at least get along with that person, depending on the conversation. But to sit there and once you kind of get to know somebody, then to still screw them over like that, and I know that exists in this world, but that's a level of insane that's almost worse than murder in some ways. This was literally murder, but I don't know. It was a fantastic character. DiCaprio's character was so complicated that, and I bought every second of it. At no point, I could see why people would sit there and get annoyed that why wouldn't you just leave? Well, she's not seeing what we're seeing. We're getting to see the ins and outs of both sides of the story. I don't know. This is one of Scorsese's best.
The deck is being stacked for us and not for her.
Right.
She doesn't see. She doesn't see him being a criminal. She doesn't see him, even poisoning her. She doesn't believe that he would do that. She wants to believe that this man actually loves her. And Lily Gladstone, she's as smart as she is, and this is a smart character. She wants to. There's a lot of stuff that she chooses to believe about him specifically, and those choices are her, are her downfall for a little while. But it's all based in hope. That's the thing, and that's the insidiousness of hope in some ways. Like you think that you can trust somebody, and you hope that you can trust, and they invest this hope in De Niro's character, and it doesn't. He's a sociopath. He's a criminal. He's just using them. We're sold this idea that maybe if you sit down and you talk to somebody and get to know them, maybe it'll be harder for them to hate you. And some people are just evil, and even if they know you, they can still look you. De Niro, I described his character in my review as being a guy who can, shake your hand with one hand and stab you with the other one. Like, that's the insidiousness of this character. He's capable of giving you a hug, but while he's doing it, he's digging a knife into your ribs.
And he's doing it.
Yeah.
But everybody, that was the thing, is he did a good job of explaining, well, these people they're not healthy. They're not going to make it. So let's carry on. And the money should go somewhere, and we care about these people. So, he's good at convincing characters like Leonardo DiCaprio's character to go along with it. Now, and they have to be a little bit bad too. I mean, he's literally calling for murders, but he's making it in a way where the right person could buy into it. And that's, and then he's so quick to turn his back on anybody at any given moment. It's, it was great to see him turn, but then when he didn't turn, I was just like, this is starting to go off the rails in the wrong direction. Not off the rails, but starting to head down the direction I don't want it to go. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And then even when he's sitting there knowing he's going to lose and just playing the victim and making Leonardo DiCaprio feel, he already got him 3 or 4 times, and here he is one more time as a shot at turning him. It really is a great performance by De Niro, possibly even his best.
Yeah, really, truly.
What else? Anything else, or should we move on?
We can move on.
All right. Do we want to do a top 5, or do we want to move on to the classic? Or do we want to skip the top 5?
I think we've talked for a while, so I think we can just go right to the classic, right?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
After Hours.
After Hours, directed by Martin Scorsese and starring Griffin Dunne, is an incredible movie that I really didn't think I was going to like. I think I saw it like 40. I think I saw it like 35 years ago, and really did not. I didn't care for it at the time as a very young person. I didn't like Griffin Dunne. I didn't know what the movie was going for, and I kind of dismissed it and forgot about it. And then going back to it now, I bought the Criterion Blu-ray because it is such a remarkable film. It's so clever and so unusual the way it sets up this character, Griffin Dunne's character, to be essentially a man who's kind of created his own purgatory. He lives in this he just lives a life where he has this really dull job that he doesn't realize how dull it is. He's got this really dull life that he's kind of locked himself in. And one night he just kind of thinks, well, I am kind of lonely. Maybe I'll go, do something. And he goes out and does something and finds, what? I'd rather be in purgatory. And the journey back to death, essentially, for this guy. The story goes that he goes out to a coffee shop. He's reading a book by Henry Miller. A woman played by Rosanna Arquette calls attention to that and says she really likes the book, and even quotes the book to him. And they have a moment. She gives him a phone number to call to buy something, but it's obviously it's a come on for both of them. She wants him to call her. He does, and then maybe she doesn't want him around. There's a lot of really funny, just funny, dark things where this guy is thinking one thing and another thing is happening. It happens to him constantly. Linda Fiorentino plays an artist in the movie who is very funny in ways that are just not you wouldn't expect to be funny. There's so many things in this movie that just get a laugh because they're so dark, and so I guess it's the violation of the social code. The things you think are supposed to happen, the ways that people are supposed to act. They just refuse to, and I really do love that about this movie. The book, I think it's called Tropic of Cancer, is the keystone to the entire movie, and I didn't know that until I was reading about. I started reading about the book because I was like, well, Scorsese doesn't include things in his movies without a purpose, and so I decided to look up some quotes, and specifically, I wanted to know about the quote that Rosanna Arquette mentions in the movie, and what I did was like, oh, this book is about our main character. This is not a book in the ordinary sense of the word. No, this is a prolonged insult, a gob of spit in the face of art, a kick in the pants to God, man, destiny, time, love, beauty, and what you will. That is one of the lines from the movie, the one that she quotes. And this movie is a prolonged insult to Griffin Dunne's character over and over again. The movie is about just simply insulting his emptiness, what an empty human being he is, how self-involved he is. He is so self-involved and so egotistical. He doesn't ever listen to anyone. And he's only interested in the things that he wants, and he misses things that could be important. There is a conversation that he has with Catherine O'Hara's character where she kind of randomly says to him, I drive a Mr. Softy truck. And I think the reason that happens is we're in this sort of conversation. We're in his movie. We're in his head. And I think he's missed most of the conversations that he has had with her because he's so thinking about what he wants. And we're in his orbit. I think there was a whole conversation that she was having with him that he doesn't remember. And I think that level of detail that Scorsese layers in, that perhaps this guy's just not listened to anybody this entire night because he's such an egotist, that's why it seems so disjointed when he talks to people. He's just not paying attention. I adore the little details. I've lived out my melancholy youth. I don't give a fuck anymore what's behind me or what's ahead of me. I'm healthy, incurably healthy, no sorrows, no regrets, no past, no future. The present is enough for me, day by day, today. And that, again, is so indicative of this character, his little purgatory place that he's created for himself, where he doesn't have to listen to anybody. He just doesn't have to do anything but do his job, and that's it. That's his little sanctuary where he is left alone only with his thoughts. That's what he wants, and that's where he'll live out his days.
Yeah, this movie gave me anxiety, but at the same time, with the comedy that worked in, it just worked. I wasn't expecting to like it, only because we had started doing more over the last since Josh left, really. We were doing more Scorsese, but we weren't going to the obvious ones. We were going to like Cape Fear and movies like that. And I don't know, the Nicolas Cage one, Bring Out the Dead, and we weren't liking him as much as we remembered. And right. I was kind of expecting that from this, and then it just kept growing on me, it just kept going. And I'm like, this is actually really good. And it's not Killers of the Flower Moon or even Goodfellas or Taxi Driver. It's its own Scorsese movie, but it is definitely a blind spot that I didn't know I have. I was kind of shocked at how much I liked it. Jeff, did you see it?
Yeah, same here. I watched part of it last night and part of it in the car today. And I always got this one, like, in my head. I got this mixed up with Something Wild. And I don't know why. I think maybe it was just the wacky cover art for it or whatever. My first takeaway was the cast. Like, everybody in this movie, this was before most of them were really famous and especially like Catherine O'Hara.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I mean, a lot of his movies tend to have themes, and this was the farce that you don't expect from him. If you see something like Raging Bull or Taxi Driver or Killers of the Flower Moon, you wouldn't expect him to do a madcap farce, and that's kind of what this is. He's constantly meeting people who are going to just completely, they could completely help him, but he just has to fuck it up somehow.
Right.
And it is a hell of his own making, because he could look. I have walked from Soho to 96th Street. It's not pleasant, especially in the rain. However, you can do it. And if he had just done that, he would have been fine. But no, he's got to make all these poor decisions. It was a lot darker than I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. I expected something a little more fun, a la Something Wild, but Rosanna Arquette's character killing herself. I mean, I did not expect that, because she's top billed. I expected her throughout the movie to kind of be that, that one that keeps getting away. And when he wrote "dead body" on a piece of paper and slapped it on the lamppost, I was like, oh my God, that was my single favorite moment of the movie, when he just wrote "dead body" and slapped it on the thing with an arrow.
The whole scene where he's trying to find out if she's a burn victim or not. It's just, I mean, it's back to the ego, the arrogance, or whatever, the narcissism that his character. I mean, it's a great one of the first scenes where he really knocks that out, and I don't know, it just, it's so frustrating, because you just want him to do the right thing. Like, why do you care? You can't tell she's a burn victim, so I don't know.
It's so funny too, because he underlines this brilliantly with a scene between Griffin Dunn and Linda Fiorentino, where he's about to reveal that he has this big, traumatic memory about burn victims, having been in a burn unit as a child, and having not been a burn victim himself, but having been in the burn unit for reasons. And he's about to reveal that, and she falls asleep.
Yeah.
And then we're just left to kind of imagine, maybe this guy has a trauma, or maybe he's just an asshole. And really, the movie is just so clever in setting him up to maybe he's not wrong, but he's absolutely wrong.
I mean, you don't like him, but at the same time, you want him to do what's right. You want him to get out of the scenario he's in. I don't know. It's a weird how Scorsese pulls that together.
It's incredible. It really is incredible in that way. Because this character, he's so I think he set out to make like a farce, because he's a director for hire on this. Griffin Dunn and his producing partners were the ones who found this material and got the screenplay ready and were ready to make this movie. I think they had actually settled on Tim Burton to direct this movie, and then Scorsese wasn't available initially, and then he became available, and Tim Burton was like, "You need Scorsese, take him."
I'm so glad Tim Burton didn't do this.
But he's a director for hire here, which is not a typical thing for him. And I think he sets out to make the movie that they were thinking of making, and then he makes it a Scorsese movie. He comes up with the Tropic of Cancer thing, and he's like, I'm going to proceed from that and kind of seize on that and create this character based off of that, and put him through these very unique paces to deconstruct this person who is this intensely self-involved human being. And the whole point is trying to help this guy realize how desperately self-involved he is, and he never will. And that's his hell, that he doesn't understand that being so self-focused and being so much in his own head is why, he's vaguely miserable.
Well, and I think at the beginning, when he's trying to explain to Bronson Pinchot like what the job is that he's training for, mm-hmm. I think that also sets it up where his life is so mundane that it's his job is easy.
Mhm.
He doesn't have to think too hard, so he kind of gives up thinking in his daily life. He just goes and does it by rote. And I really feel like that was the piece that I took away from it. Was if you're not used to, doing something out of the ordinary once in a while, then this night, which is not, quite honestly, I've had weirder nights than this. This is a manageable night if you ever lived in New York City. Uh, but the fact that every step of the way, he just does the wrong thing. That to me is just like, you deserve this,
Oh, he so does.
but I want you to get out of it, And I think that's Griffin done in a way. Like, say what you will about the movie Who's That Girl?
Mhm.
Everything in that movie that happens to him is because he does this. It's like this, he just trusts Madonna in that movie, just enough. And I don't know. He has that kind of hapless thing that he has going on here, except there's no external, like in Who's That Girl, there's an external force, which is Madonna's Nikki Finn. Here, it's an internal force of him just being a fucking idiot.
It's interesting too about this movie is that we're trained as moviegoers, movie watchers to identify with the main character. We're supposed to like see the main character, and this is our avatar for the rest of the movie. And he's not likable. He's not a likable person. He's a bit of a loser. The opening scene kind of paints him as, like Bronson Pinchot's talking about, I don't want to do this job forever, and he's left to look around going, I guess I am kind of alone, and this isn't entirely fulfilling. And that's kind of what leads him to down the path towards what's going to happen in the rest of the movie. But it's so interesting to see that he is not a likable main character, and it's a deconstruction as much of that archetype of the idea that you're supposed to love the main character as much as it is just a movie about this main character.
Yeah. Anything else on After Hours, or should we move on?
Yeah, it's interesting that there's a weird similarity in what I just said there. He did the same thing with Alice in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, where she's a good character and she's a good person, not like him, but in terms of how he toys with the idea of how you identify with a main character and how you deconstruct a main character in a way, he does that similar thing in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, and it's equally fucking brilliant.
I think next time when we don't have any movies to talk about, we just kind of talk about Scorsese from like right after Raging Bull up until Goodfellas. Because that's a very unique era where he's kind of Martin Scorsese, but he's also not the Martin Scorsese we're going to know. And he's trying different styles. He's doing different things, and for better or worse. But anyway, we don't got to do that right now because it's getting late. Anything else on Martin Scorsese or After Hours?
Jeff, did you want to mention anything about Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore? I know you've had a love for that film as well.
You know what? Let's save that and do that as a classic sometime. Just because I think it deserves a longer conversation.
No, well, we've done it as a classic.
Well, but I didn't watch. I didn't watch it when we did it either, though.
Oh, you okay?
I think it's just you and Josh.
I wrote like a 1,500 word essay. 1,000 words essay on it.
Either that or I Wikipedia'd it and pretended to watch it. I don't remember. Not saying I do that a lot, but I have done it. 1993, you got Nightmare Before Christmas, Rudy, and Fatal Instinct. What are you watching for the show?
We did Nightmare Before Christmas and Fatal Instinct.
Thank God.
Nightmare Before Christmas, is fine. It's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. I get what people like about it. It's not for me, but I think it's lasted in the culture for a good enough reason, and that it has a strong aesthetic to it, and it has enough about it that's likable, that it makes sense. I don't hate the fact that it has a cult. Like I might, resent other movies that have a cult that don't probably deserve it.
Yeah.
So there's that. A movie that deserves a cult audience, though, is Fatal Instinct. Fatal Instinct is goddamn brilliant. How people have been sleeping on Fatal Instinct all these years, I have no idea. There's a lot of hatred for this movie, and it makes no sense to me. At least there was in 1993. Critics hated it.
Oh, of course they did.
It's directed by Carl Reiner and stars Amon Desante as a man who is both a detective and a lawyer. So early on, you see him arresting a criminal and then representing that same criminal in court the next day, which is very funny. The jokes are so simple. But Carl Reiner sets up the jokes so incredibly well that they're still funny. Like in the opening credits, you see Clarence Clemens' name from the E Street Band and the legendary saxophonist. And I said to Amy and MJ, like, oh, he's going to be playing his saxophone behind Sean Young's character, because that's what, characters in noir mysteries like this always have a saxophone soundtrack. And there he is. You see, as soon as you see Sean Young, you see Clarence Clemens right behind him. And I still laughed. I knew it was coming. It still made me laugh because it's so well done. There's so many great jokes in this movie. There's a character played by Christopher McDonald who gets murdered, and the cops are ruling it a suicide, even though he's pinned to the wall, facing the wall with a drill in his back. Draw the chalk outline around him as he's pinned to the wall. It's very funny. All the cops are slipping in his blood. Keep falling down in the background while they're having a very serious conversation. It's all stuff you see in any other spoof movie, but it's just well done. And Carl Reiner's a genius. And I think this movie gets overshadowed, obviously, by there being 3 other really good parody movies in 1993, which is a great year for parodies, for spoofs, because you've got, Robin Hood. You've got the Robin Hood one, Men in Tights. You've got Hot Shots Part 2, and you've got Loaded Weapon, which are all 3 really great. And I think this one gets overshadowed by all 3 of those for whatever reason, but it's absolutely brilliant. I also think that people just underestimate Armand Desante. He's not a comedic actor. He's not a guy you would think of as having a typical comedy background. So I think that kind of holds the movie back a little bit. He's playing a Michael Douglas variation, and I think he does a great job with it. I thought he was very funny, but I thought the whole thing was very funny.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Leslie Nielsen wasn't a character or a comedy guy at first, and neither was Charlie Sheen. So it was I don't know. There's just, like you said, I think it's just been overcrowded over really a decade long of great spoof movies. But that doesn't make it not funny. I'm just glad we didn't talk about Rudy.
Oh, yeah, no, we were never going to talk about Rudy.
There was
never going to be a way to get Amy or MJ to watch Rudy.
Piece of shit. All right. Next week, we've got Priscilla, The Marsh King's Daughter, What Happens Later. There were 2 other movies that have left my list.
Quiz Lady on Hulu.
Lady.
Aquafina.
Oh,
and
Quiz Lady, and then the Netflix one, Rustin
with Coleman Domingo, who's getting Best Actor kind of buzz.
Excellent. Well, after watching Killers of the Flower Moon, she better get nominated, and so better De Niro. Our classic is Quiz Show next week, and yeah, that's our show. I'm assuming you guys want to wrap it up and call it a night.
Yeah, I probably should.
All right.
All right.
Thanks for hanging out late, guys. Sorry I took so long. All right.
Thanks.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.